Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan, Ross Motor City Madmouth. Great crew tonight, and I'll introduce them for you as we speak right now. Go over some basic things to get you started. Candy Ebling, obviously working for the Tribune. Welcome back, Can.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
And Willie Epting Jr. We do a lot of stuff together. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Pigskin.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I actually think this is my first appearance on the Inside the Pigskin.
Well, I expect it not to be your last because if anybody knows the sport well, it's you. The only one that might know it a little better is a guy that played it. His name is Mel Farr Jr. And why don't you let Willie know who you play for, Mel?
Played for the Rams back '89 when they were the first time when they were in LA.
You go.
Neat.
How about that? Well, just what I try to do with Inside the Pigskin, folks, is I like to go magazine style. We just key in on some of the top topics out there, and then we can go out there and do what we've got to do. So, you know what? Have a great show tonight. Let me just get to it. And I think the main thing here is the theme is change of scenery. Tonight's game has Marcusmariota of the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Carolina Panthers. And you know what? We can tie that into former Miami Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who replaced him in Tennessee, and then go back in history with Jimplunkett, moving from the New England Patriots to the Oakland Raiders. And by the way, all he did in Oakland was win 2 Super Bowl. Willie, I know you like that part pretty well. So with that said, okay, and then we have another feel-good story as well, but we'll tie it to these. First of all, Willie, give me your thoughts about these 3 quarterbacks and how they've gone out there and found a home elsewhere.
Well, Marcusmariota was highly touted coming out of Oregon, and rightly so. Won the Heisman there. I think he might have been a little bit before his time in terms of how he plays. We didn't see what we see offensively in the NFL back when he came into the league. I think it was 14. Right. Him and Jameis Winston, of course, will always forever be tied together as the 1 and 2 selections in that draft, and both winning Heisman trophies. So he got his job taken from him in Tennessee from Tannehill. Then he goes off to the Raiders and he breaks his leg. I think the first year he was there, didn't get a chance to really utilize his skills. So free agent came a calling, and he's found a home in Atlanta. And look, but for a BS call against the Falcons in that game against the Buccaneers, we might be talking about the Falcons being in first place.
That's true. Yeah. DJ Moore remembers it all too well. And maybe it's just as well that Jennifer Matthews Lewis isn't on this show. Although when she comes back down, we'll give her opportunity to talk about tonight's game that she's attending as well as the play, but we'll leave that for another night. So with that said, Mel, you saw each and every one of these quarterbacks, you're well enough, Marcusmariota, Ryan Tannehill, Jimplunkett. What's your thoughts about the fact that all 3 of these guys did find someplace else?
Well, when you say found, you're saying Mariota found someplace else. I mean, he's back with his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it sounds like he's doing all right in Atlanta so far. They're contending.
He right now, he's just a stopgap guy until they can get the guy they drafted from Cincinnati up to speed. He's just in there, just holding down the position. Obviously, he has a familiarity with the offense because he was in Tennessee there when Arthur Smith was there, and he was running an offense up there. So it made all the sense in the world for him to come to Atlanta, and because there wouldn't be much of a learning curve for him there, and it gives Atlanta the best opportunity to go out and have a successful season after they decided to move away from Matt Ryan. Now, I can't say that he's found himself another home, because as soon as Ritter's ready to play, he's going to play, and Mariota's going to be holding the clipboard, or he'll be elsewhere in the league as a backup. His opportunity, I think, to be a starter or to be a franchise quarterback, I think that's in the rearview mirror. I don't think that opportunity is out there for him anymore. Everybody knows who Marcusmariota is. Right. And they know what he can do, and obviously they know what he cannot do as well. And he's doing a great job of managing this offense right now. As the Falcons go through this transition period, obviously they have a lot of dead cap money because of the Matt Ryan trade, the Julio Jones contract. They got a lot of things that have to come off the books, and being able to get a quarterback the caliber of Marcus Mariota with the number of starts that he's had in the NFL is a big plus for him as they go through this transition. But they'll be looking at the young kid next year and adding some weapons around him, continue to improve on that running game, and get some help. Continue to play solid on the defensive side of the ball as well. And and then they're going to eventually move on from Marcus Mariota. So this is not going to be kind of like Jimplunkett per se, because Jim Plunkett, he went on to do great things there in Oakland. But it's nice for an opportunity. It's good for Atlanta. Shows that they're not trying to tank for whoever.
Right.
Obviously, they believe in the kid that they drafted from Cincinnati. I like him too. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he'll do good things. Pardon me?
Isn't it Desmond Ritter, I believe?
Yeah. I like the kid. I watched him for 3 or 4 years there in Cincinnati. He's improved every year. I think he'll do good things for the organization.
Yeah, well, you know what? I will say this about Marcus Mariota, and I would think that any quarterback, and nobody knows it probably better than you, Mel, okay, that let's just say hypothetically he gets them into the playoffs or at least close to it and competitive. Don't you think it would be advantageous to me? I don't know what your definition is of a successful tenure in Atlanta, but if they can get 1 or 2 years out of Mariota there and allow this kid to hold a clipboard, I think it's to their Falcons' benefit. And you just mentioned it yourself, okay? And the fact that, to me, the familiarity factor with, the guy who was it, Smith, I think, Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Right, Arthur Smith can only work to his advantage. I agree. There won't be a storybook ending, okay, for Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. However, the opportunity to be there long enough and groom this young quarterback to the best of your ability, I could see that, because remember, everybody knows that you're auditioning for your next job somewhere else, hoping to prove somebody right. And I'm going to get to another guy momentarily about that, but I wanted to leave him for the next segment. So, but yeah, I think Marcus Mariota, the only thing that's held him back is his injury problems. I think I saw him get hurt once over in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. So there's no question that he would certainly, I think, live up to his hype had he been able to stay on the field, which he has not been able to do. But, whatever, you're either auditioning for your next job, or if you can get 2 years out of him, I think that would still be a pretty good change of pace for him, knowing full well he wasn't going anywhere with Ryan Tannehill with a stranglehold on it up in Tennessee.
The likelihood of that happening is, we live in a microwave generation. They got to find out what they have now. Desmond Ritter wasn't drafted in the first round. He was drafted second, third round, whatever the case may have been. So that means he's got a 3-year contract, if I'm not mistaken. So they got to figure out what they have soon, because they're going to have to make a decision on that next part of that contract. So they got to find out what they have next year, and that's what they're going to do. They got to find out what they have next year, because then they can make a decision as to whether they want to extend them or whatever. Prior to that 3rd year starting in the off season or sometime during the season, they have to be able to make a decision whether or not this is our guy, or we're going to move on from this guy and we're going to go back to the draft and try to get somebody.
Yeah, well, let's go back to Jimplunkett. I'll tell you, I remember growing up, and I know, Will, you can appreciate the success the Raiders had back then. That was still a heck of a story, knowing he left the New England Patriots only to go to Oakland and yet win a couple Super Bowls in the process for Al Davis. So, Will, you want to comment on Jimplunkett for a moment?
He went to a bad team.
Yeah, he did.
Well, he was drafted number 1 overall by the Patriots. I think it was in 74, somewhere there. And then when
University,
he won the Heisman Trophy too, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So he's only one of a few players out there that's won the Heisman Trophy and a Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
But if you remember back in that 1980 season, in the offseason, the Raiders had gotten Dan Pastorini from the Houston Oilers.
Right.
And in the first game of the 1980 season, Dan Pastorini broke his leg.
Right.
Enter Jimplunkett, and then the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you brought the background on it, because he goes from the Patriots situation to Oakland, and he's revered there, Mel, and that was still a heck of a time. And they always wonder, can a quarterback lose his job due to injury? I guess that's a question. Or a player lose his job to injury. I should ask you that, Mel. Should a player lose his job due to injury?
Yeah, I mean that's just the nature of the beast. That's just that's how it goes. I mean, Tony Romo lost his job.
Yeah.
When he went down. If he doesn't get hurt, we don't hear about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, he dropped in the draft a little bit because he had some issues over there at Mississippi State that get the DUI or whatever situation he had, and that kind of dropped him down in the draft a little bit. But Dak Prescott had some talent, obviously, but we would never heard of Dak Prescott had it not been for Tony Romo getting hurt.
That's
yeah,
true.
I mean that's just the game. That's just the way it is. I mean, even when you're in practice and you get hurt, they just move the drill. Move up, hey guys, just move up 15, 20 yards, man. That's it. Let the trainers tend to that guy here. Next guy's in. That's just so. Yeah, I mean that's understood.
Well, I think your two biggest examples, since I have a Packers person on here, Don Mikowski losing it to Brett Favre, I believe. But the other one here is Drew Bledsoe losing it to Tom Brady. We all know how that worked out. So Candy, I know you've been pretty quiet about it. Why don't you give me your takes on the change of scenery involving the three quarterbacks I mentioned? If you want to add anything to it based on what we've told you, feel free to do it.
So Plunkett was selected first in the 1971 NFL draft. His tenure with the Patriots was productive, but after an injury-shortened 1975 season, he was traded to the 49ers, where he played 76 and 77. He was released from the 49ers after suffering further injuries and signed with the Raiders in 78. That's a little before I was really watching football, I'll be honest with you. So I don't know a lot about Plunkett. But going back to like Mariota, I've never thought of him as a long-term quarterback. He's good. It's done, but not as a top tier quarterback. So he's one of those that is a very good backup to have. But he struggles. I agree with Willie when you said that he was probably ahead of his time because he does have speed and but he's also injury prone. And that's the problem with like him. I mean, Tua's finding success, but Tua also injury prone. Like, and he came after, Tua, Tannehill. Tannehill had some injury problems too. And then they moved him. And he's doing better. But again, he's still not what I would consider a top tier quarterback.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the next subject. Feel good story. Geno Smith also got a change of scenery with the Seahawks. How did that really work out? 7-3 so far, thanks to Petecarroll, who's working wonders. How does that Russell Wilson trade working out a few weeks ago? Carroll, and I want to mention Carroll, but then I got a funny thing I want to talk about reflecting a couple weeks ago. So let's talk about Geno Smith, Mel. This is what we've seen in Seattle. I think everybody expected rebuild, but I don't think Geno Smith and Pete Carroll, as well as Kenneth Walker III, had that in mind for the Seahawks.
I think Pete knew what he had. I think Pete wants to get back to running the football, playing that ball control game, and also having a good defense. And he knew he was not going to be able to do that with that kind of contract that the quarterback had.
Right.
When the quarterback eats up that much of the salary cap, it makes it very difficult to have depth on your football team. Now they have a quarterback on their team. The salary is more than manageable, and Pete can do the things that he likes to do, which is particularly, coach and develop young players, and that's what they've done. They've done a good job of drafting, and they're building up that defensive side of the ball. And the kid from Michigan State has been outstanding. Running football. That's what Pete likes to do. Pete likes to run that rock. I've always liked Geno, even when he was, from when he came out of West Virginia. I think he kind of had, going to the Jets. I think Fitzpatrick was there. I think at that particular time, I can't exactly remember.
Right.
And when he was finally getting his chance, he gets in that little scuffle in the locker room, breaks his jaw, and then after that, he kind of became a punchline for jokes, and he just kind of bounced around the league. Nobody kind of took him seriously. I don't know if he really got an opportunity, and of course, he's playing for the Jets, so that. That franchise has been in turmoil for a while. Right. It's very difficult for anybody to succeed when you have that type of dysfunction going on around you. So he's landed in a perfect opportunity. I think Pete Carroll knew exactly what he had. I think he has exactly what he wants in that position right now. And they're going to run with it. I mean, they're surprising everybody. Everybody was talking about the Rams. Everybody's talking about the 49ers. Nobody was talking, even the Cardinals. Nobody was talking about the Seahawks because Russell Wilson had left. But Pete knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he wanted there. And, he was able to sell Denver some snake oil. They bid on it. And, and they're going to reap the benefits of it because all the draft capital they got,
no kidding,
players that they got, that's a great trade for Seattle. And, it's going to pay off dividends here in the next few years.
Yeah, Drew Lock went there too as a backup, so we'll leave it at that. All right, Willie, Geno Smith, and then I want to talk about a funny situation that we're all too familiar with Seattle, but I want to get to this Geno Smith. All right, Willie, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, Geno's claim to fame per se was when Coach Bob McAdoo put Eli Manning on the bench.
Ben McAdoo, right?
Huh?
Ben McAdoo?
Yeah, what
McAdoo was the player.
I think we're in a basketball frame of mind. Just kidding with you, Willie.
Yeah, that would have been something that Bob McAdoo put him on the bench. But yeah, Ben McAdoo put him on the bench. That game was actually in Oakland. I remember that, and it broke the Iron Man streak that Eli was on. But in terms of what Geno is doing now, he's got coaching matters. Coaching matters a great deal because Pete Carroll has sold this dude a dream. He bought in. The team has bought in, and they're sitting at the top of the NFC West. Nobody thought that they would be there. I mean, Geno has led the league in completion percentage. I think he's completing 70% of his passes. And that team, they can run the ball with Walker. I think they hung their hat on Rashad Penny, and then he got torn. I think he tore his ACL, out for the year. They have a beast at wide receiver in DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett is more than serviceable on the other side. Right. And that defense, man, my big homie Michael Jackson. Yeah, he's in the secondary out there, and he's wreaking havoc. This is going to be a Pro Bowl year for that kid.
All right, Candy, some thoughts about Geno.
So Geno came out with the Jets in the beginning. He played 16 games in 2013, completing only 55.8% of his passes, had just over 3,000 yards. Then his record was 8-8. So then in the next year we go 3-10, but we're only completing 59.7% with 2,500 yards. He this year is 6-3. He's completing 73.1%, like Willie said, over 70%. He already has 2,199 yards passing. He also has 196 yards rushing. So a little bit of what Mel and Willie said, Seattle's going more with the rushing game. Well, when you do that, you set up the pass better so that you're not just one-dimensional. And it allows you to be able to throw the ball more and complete more when you are both dimensional, two-dimensional, not just one-dimensional. And so I think he really set Geno up for success. And who would have thought? Nobody would have given Seattle any inkling that they would be doing good after that Russell Wilson trade. Everybody was like, oh, they they're going to be really not good this year. They're without Russell Wilson. How are they going to manage? But look, they're showing everybody wrong and proving everybody wrong that they did the better end of the trade.
Yeah, the bottom line is Pete Carroll's a heck of a coach. All right, so let's joke around about Pete Carroll for a moment. A few weeks ago, Carroll got a 15-yard penalty for sideline interference in a 27-13 win over the Giants. You know, when you win by double digits, I guess that penalty doesn't matter. But I have to ask you, Willie, were you at least amused by that 15-yard penalty and the way that he handled it?
Well, I didn't actually see it, but what I can tell you that it is always amusing when a coach gets any type of penalty on the field. And for them, luckily for them, it wasn't anything that was going to change the outcome of the game.
Right.
But Pete Carroll, man, he's very youthful at 70+ years old.
Right.
And that to see that type of enthusiasm from that gentleman, that actually, in my opinion, would definitely spark give a light a spark for his team, even though they were already had the game in hand. But I kind of like Pete Carroll. I hated him when he was at USC because I couldn't stand that team. They were like a bunch of Hollywood blondes out there. But he's people had been saying that Pete Carroll is too old for a rebuild, and he was like, forget that, man. We're going for it. Now, do we really think that they're Super Bowl contenders? Any Given Sunday. That's the movie.
All right, Mel.
Yeah, I didn't see the play either. I don't remember what that was all about. I kind of remember hearing something about it, but I didn't see it. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, he's a very high energy, very energetic, like Willie was saying. 73-year-old coach, and he gets excited, and I think that's who he is. He likes, and he's got young kids there, and they're looking at him, and that gets them excited, gets them fired up when they see their coach fired up. And I think the players feed off of that energy. I mean, right. Pete is a very energetic coach. That's his coaching style, and that's what we've come to expect from him. And he was like that when he was at USC, and I definitely didn't like him when he was at USC because they were kicking our tails year in and year out. Why can't we get Pete Carroll? But that's who Pete Carroll is, and and that young team is feeding off that energy.
All right, Candy, your take on Pete Carroll. Then you have some company information we'll let everybody know about, don't you?
Yes, I agree with Mel. He has a young team, and that energy just sparks them. You see him running up and down the field. You see him yelling that energy. You're like, how could you not want to play for a man that has that passion for the game and for his players? You see him yell. I mean, I've seen him run down the field and yell at the refs. Oh, how did you miss that call? How could you, how would you not want to play for somebody that brings that energy to the field? And it just exudes. It makes you want to play harder, play more. I mean, and especially since he's not a youngster. Like, we're not talking about a 30-year-old. We're talking about somebody that's, a little more mature, and you wouldn't necessarily expect that, but that's who he is. And like I said, it brings a lot of energy to the stadium and the crowd. He gets the crowd in because he's there involved. It's a good look. I mean, I really give him a lot of respect.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about Pete Carroll before I turn it over to you, Candy, for the company stuff is, you know what? I hope I have that much energy at his age as he does, because this guy is really good for the National Football League and good for the game of football, period, regardless of what level. But no, he's proven that you can coach in the pros, go to college, do well, and then coach in the pros. And by the way, he did win a championship on both levels, and that's the icing on the cake. All right, Candy, take it away with the company stuff.
So please, if you're enjoying this broadcast or any of our other broadcasts, please subscribe to the South Florida YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, South Florida Tribune, and hit the subscribe button. Watch all of our different broadcasts. We have a baseball, 108 Stitches baseball talk. We have Inside the Pigskin. We have Sports Exchange. We have Fire Up Wisconsin, Fire Up Michigan. Listen to all of them. You can always go visit us on www.southfloridatribune.com. You can advertise with us. It's 954-304-4941. If you're driving in your car and you want to listen to us, all of our broadcasts can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Scott, back to you.
All right. Well, this is a subject Kenny Hefling's not going to like. And, and Willie might be the beneficiary of what I'm about to say, which is kind of why I waited third, because we started off easy. Now we get to the fillet of the broadcast. But now we have to do what we have to do. The Green Bay Packers have struggled to a 5-game losing streak. Latest loss, 15-9 loss of the Detroit Lions. House divided. Round one goes to me. Aaron Rodgers, 3 red zone interceptions. Rodgers, let me go over his numbers through the years in terms of interceptions. 2017, he had 6 of them for the year. 2018, not bad at just 2. 2019, 4. 2020, 5. 2021, 4. In 2022, he's had 7 through 9 games. And I did learn a word from Aaron Rodgers called immunized, which I never knew anything about until he made sure that I did learn about it. And if that isn't good enough, the Green Bay Packers are taking the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott at Lambeau Field. And Mike McCarthy's getting his first trip back to the frozen tundra. Well, Candy, sorry, but we can't dodge the Packers. And let's just talk about one more time, because I get it the other way too from Candy when the Packers win against the Lions, which is probably, by the way, a majority of the time anyways, including on the day that we decided to get hooked. Anyhow, officially on 1/1/17, and yes, I can tell you stories. And in fact, I'll share you a little personal. I don't really get too personal on these shows anyhow. But I'll never forget when the officiant said, "Scott, will it bother you if the Packers win?" "Oh, no, we're used to it anyway, so it doesn't make a difference." I went out there and got the prize. So the Lions lose, it is what it is. It wasn't no typical wedding when you're at Fridays at Miller Park. There was no dancing. There was a lot of TV watching. But that said, that's as personal I'm going to get, Candy. Sunday was tough for you, and you know it. Go ahead.
What would you like me to say, Mr. Scott?
Well, that I don't sing, but Aaron Rodgers had a bad day. And the Packers having a bad time.
He did. He's not having a great year. He's had a lot of different things. He has a lot of excuses. I know. Some of it is true. The Packers haven't really supported him, giving him some good wide receivers. Let's face it. We went out. We got who? Sammy Watkins, Mr. Injury-prone Watkins. We have Alan Lazard. He got injured. We have Randall Cobb, which was one of his favorite targets. He is injury prone. We let Devontae go because Aaron wanted too much money, and he couldn't waffle, and he couldn't say, "I'm going to be here for how long." So Devontae said, "You know what? I'm going to go someplace else where I know the quarterback. I know how long he's going to be there, and I'm going to get paid good money." But what that did to Aaron is he was his safety net. He knew through whatever route it was that Devontae would run the route that how Aaron wanted him to. So when he threw the ball, Devontae knew and would be there. Well, he doesn't have that relationship with anybody. He throws the ball to a spot on the field, and to him, he feels that the receiver should be there. Now, sometimes that turns out really well. Sometimes that means the defensive guy is right there or nobody's there. He needs to adjust to throwing to his targets. And because his targets have changed, they're new. Yes, maybe we're drawing up plays that we shouldn't be drawing up. We need to run more. It didn't help on Sunday that we had I think it was at least 6 injuries that went down, including Aaron Jones, which our running back, which hurt us. But we need to get back to running the ball more so that we can be more like Seattle, where the run sets up the throw, because everybody knows Aaron Rodgers wants to throw, so they're all coming after him. And our offensive line has not been able to protect him either.
Well, they expected a lot more on the defensive side. Losing Rashawn Gary certainly had 6 sacks. Reality is Aaron Rodgers brought it all on himself. You can't make up your mind. So people are going to ask later in the year, are you going to want Jordan Love to start with a couple of games left to see what you have? I'm not bringing that up on this show unless you guys decide you want to do it. But that'll be a question that certainly
I'll talk about it. If Aaron Rodgers isn't successful in this offense, what makes you think you can fairly judge Jordan Love in this offense as well? That's my question. Yes, everybody keeps saying, should we put him out there? We want to see what we have. But if Aaron can't get it done with this offense, what makes us think a rookie, Jordan Love, is going to have success?
Well, Jordan Love won't have success. All you'll be doing at that point, I think, is just trying to measure trade value. All right, Willie, I know you're patiently observing the dialogue between 2 family members that we have all the time inside of our 4 walls, but why don't you give us your take on this whole thing?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is getting exactly what he deserves. And I'm not sad to see it for him, because it's like Mel said earlier. You can't have your quarterback taking up all of the salary cap with a $50 million a year dude that's 38 years old. You let your biggest weapon get out of the building. The defense, and shout out to Rashawn Gary and his mom, Jennifer Coney Shepherd. She does a show with me called Real Moms of the Shield. I texted her earlier this week when the news came out about Rashawn. She hadn't said when the surgery's scheduled yet, but he was due to get a hefty payday, and he still may get it. I don't know, but in terms of that team, they can't run it, they can't throw it, they can't catch it, they can't kick it, they can't special team it. They just can't. But all that being said, watch Dallas go up there and lay an egg, and Aaron Rodgers throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I'd love to see that.
I'm hoping for that.
You what?
I'm hoping for that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I have something to say at the end of this one. All right, Mel, go ahead. Because Mel's got one of the most interesting looks I've ever seen here. So go out there, Mel.
I was yawning. Are
we boring, or are you tired of hearing about this drama with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers. There's no question about it, because, listen, yeah, we talked about him eating up all the salary cap. You take all the money, there's no money to go around.
Right.
But we've seen other great quarterbacks do more with less.
Right.
Tom Brady's never, 1 year he had Randy Moss, and look what they did. I mean, they almost went undefeated the year they had Randy Moss, and they set all kind of records. He did what he was supposed to do when Devontae was there. Feed him. Now he's got these young players, but he's alienated himself against these young players. Obviously, these young kids, man, they looked up to him. They're probably playing when they're playing video games. Aaron Rodgers was their quarterback. Now here they are. They're playing with Aaron Rodgers, and he's every chance he gets, he's throwing these kids under the bus. He's not developing a relationship with these players. So I think the players have they've kind of tuned them out, and they kind of checked out. Particularly these young players, they've kind of checked out. And I think Aaron is checked out. That's why the team is playing the way that it's playing, the way they're playing. Matt LaFleur he hasn't changed. The way he calls games hasn't changed. The guy has been 13-3 the last couple of years, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They've been outstanding. They played outstanding. Now, granted, they had Devontae as well, but Aaron was playing outstanding football too during that period of time. But I think Aaron is checked out. He's saying, "Hey, I can't play with these guys. They can't catch. They can't do this. They run the wrong routes." So he's just checked out, and he's just like, whatever. Obviously the offensive line has been decimated. Bakhtiari has not come back from that knee injury. Don't know if he's ever going to get back to where he once was. So, Aaron Rodgers, if you're a generational talent, which everybody says that he is, as far as throwing the football, you're smarter than everybody in the room. Hey, man, figure it out. You got to figure it out. I don't feel sorry for Aaron Rodgers, not one bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't either, and I'll tell you why I don't feel sorry. Willie and I have talked about this on other platforms, right? Well, so here's the deal. Number one, okay, Aaron Rodgers should have been a part of OTAs as well as been more involved with training camp. Anytime you have a bunch of new personnel, you have to do that. He didn't do that, getting paid well enough to do it. That's like Willie and I have talked about, self-inflicted wound. You can't do that.
He's out eating mushrooms.
Well, that's true. And not only that, stating your point on Pat McAfee's podcast isn't really, to me, if you want to get on TV, go back to Jeopardy, and they didn't even hire you either. So, in my opinion, using Pat McAfee, I'm not saying he's not a good place to talk and air it all out. Jim Gray has Tom Brady, and all these guys have established broadcasters that help them get their name out. But Aaron, going on Pat McAfee's thing where we could all laugh at you, second guess you, and not only that, even when you were immunized, I'm still trying to figure out what the word is. Tell me if I took a dump pill overnight, because I still haven't figured it out yet. Everything you've done, Aaron, is a self-inflicted wound. But the biggest problem that you have is you're not in sync with your receivers, because OTAs were necessary of all years this year, and being more of an active participant in training camp, and maybe playing a series or two in a preseason game, which is above you anyways. So, Aaron, sorry, don't feel sorry for you. And, Willie, I guess I'll defer this. I'll mention this to you. I've never seen a trade, or I don't see as many where it's a lose-lose deal, where Devontae Adams gets sent over to the Raiders. It doesn't work out well there. And now Rodgers is left with nothing in his eyes. And I think the biggest problem that the Raiders have is they, instead of bringing on the sexy hire Josh McDaniels, why the heck did you not keep Rick Bisaccia when you had something going and he overcame the adversity with John Gruden to get them to the playoffs? I know that's a lot, Willie, but if there's anybody more equipped to answer it, I know it's definitely you.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Willie. I had to bring it up, but we're talking Raiders, we're talking Packers, and you know what? You the sauce.
Let me say this about Aaron Rodgers, okay?
Big dummy. Oh no, you big dummy. You dummy.
That's Aaron Rodgers, okay? And the Las Vegas Raiders, you're also
big dummy. Oh no, you big dummy. You dummy.
Well,
all of that.
Now I know that I have sound effects brought to you by the Shake Back Media Group. There you go. They're on him, not me, because I'm not smart enough to come up with it. Go ahead, continue on, Willie.
I said Fred Sanford said enough.
Yeah,
he said enough. But the Raiders. Okay, let me calm down because this is going to be my third triple bypass surgery of the week talking about this team. So let me calm down. I don't fault Davante Adams for wanting to get out of Green Bay. Davante Adams is younger. He wants to go to a place where he knows that he has a chance to win. Obviously, he felt that the Raiders were that destination, and I do too, to a degree. This year has just been an abysmal experiment. I never was in favor of the Josh McDaniels hire. I call him Josh McFraud. I didn't care for some of the players that he brought in. He's bringing over the Patriot way. Well, let me talk to you guys about the Patriot way. How many of Bill Belichick's assistants that have gone on to other places have had any measure of success? Go ahead. I'll wait.
The show's not that long.
nothing like a pause, right, Willie?
Yeah. So and for Davante, I think Davante is really, really frustrated. I'm not sure Josh McDaniels is really using him to the way his talents can be best utilized. I know he's getting a lot of targets, in different games, but to me, you can't have 12 receptions in the first half against the Jacksonville Jaguars team and then only get targeted one time in the second half, or 3 times, and then you have 3 critical drops. He hadn't played that great either. He's had opportunities in which he's dropped the ball or couldn't drag a foot or what have you. This year, I think the Raiders are in tank mode. I was told by a source that Derek Carr, when January rolls around or when February rolls around, the Raiders will have up to 4 or 5 days to decide whether they want to bring him back or not. If they don't bring him back, they're off the books with his money.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned as Davante Adams and Derek Carr saga continues. All right. Well, I know you covered it in a lot of different fronts, and I know it's a top. Anytime you talk about the Raiders and the Packers, this is certainly going to be the type of thing. Mel, any thoughts about this whole topic here?
Well, the Raiders have been decimated by injuries. Renfro just went on IR. Waller's gone on IR. They just cut one of their number 1 draft picks. One of their defensive back. So, I mean, whenever you have turnover of coaches, then you're going to have turnover of players because they want to get their kind of guys in there. All of a sudden, these first-round draft picks that were drafted 2-3 years ago, they can't play anymore. I got to get my kind of guys in here. So, we all kind of thought, based on the fact that this was going to be McDaniel's second opportunity, figured that he learned his lesson from in Denver, trying to go in there and act like he was the smartest guy in the room who knew everything. Yeah, it's my way or the highway. We thought he'd come in there. At least he said that, the way he said all the right things when he was interviewed. we thought that he was going to come in there and this offense was going to be productive because I think everybody thinks that Derek Carr is a serviceable quarterback.
Right.
Offensive line is not terrible. They got a great running game with the running back that they didn't extend his rookie contract out of Alabama. And they got weapons. They got wide receivers. They got a slot receiver. They got a tight end. So we thought, well, wow, McDaniel did what he did last year in New England with nowhere near as talented weapons as he has over here in Las Vegas. That we thought they were going to do some stuff. So I mean, it's a very disappointing season for them. There were some high expectations. I mean, everybody was talking about, at least I know I was talking about, that was going to be a tough division to come out of based on what San Diego had been doing, how they had been playing. We thought Denver was going to be a lot better than they are. And Kansas City is Kansas City. That division is turning out to be pretty bad. The Broncos aren't playing well. Obviously, the Raiders aren't playing well, and the Chargers are having their struggles as well. But I think it's obviously the Raiders, it's been a very disappointing season for them. Devontae Adams wanted to get away from Aaron Rodgers. I truly believe that. They can say that there was more money in Green Bay. I've heard that there was more money offered in Green Bay. There was no more money. If you pay him, you pay Devontae, then what are you going to have? I mean, you're going to have they're going to call me and see if I want to come up there and play. And, that's not what you want. So he wanted an opportunity to play for his hometown team. He grew up loving the Raiders. He had an opportunity to go there, play with his college teammate. They had a whole lot of success with one another in college. And, it sounded like it was going to be a match made in heaven. So far, it's been a nightmare for both of them.
Yeah, so Mel, some quick thoughts about the Packers. Obviously, this situation, certainly they were the favorites to go ahead and win the division. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings have done a really good job. They've proven, I believe they're 7-1, right, Willie, going into the week against their game against Buffalo, albeit the Bills could be shorthanded. I believe Josh Allen's day-to-day or may not play. Case Keenum's there. But nevertheless, it's certainly, I don't think anybody expected the Packers to be where they're at. Any way that the Packers can fix it, or what do you think is the next in line for the Packers, Mel?
No, they can't fix it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has to make up in his mind that he wants to fix it, that he wants to try to mend that relationship with those players. I think they've checked out on him. He's checked out on the team. You put Jordan Love in there to get an opportunity to see what you have. Maybe he can provide some kind of spark to the team. He's playing with a lot of these guys, maybe on the scout team, throwing balls to them, maybe throwing balls after practice. But if this season is going to be a waste, you need to give him an opportunity to get some reps to try to figure out what you have.
Right.
And really because he's getting to a point where the Packers were with Brett Favre, where they were ready to move on from Brett. Brett wasn't he always had one foot in, 1 foot out. I'm going to retire. I'm coming back. No, I'm going to retire. He's getting to that same kind of point. You know what? Just show him the door and let's run. Let's go. Let's go with Jordan Love. You drafted him high. Let's rebuild around this guy here before you have to pay him any kind of money. And let's move on. Let Aaron go find another home. He's more interested in being in Hollywood now with that little jacked up haircut he's got. I don't know what the hell he's got going on top of his head.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what, Mel? Yeah, I don't know if your sound's going out or not, but anyways, your point's loud and clear, whether I can hear it anymore now, but I do specialize in lip reading as well. But what I will tell you is this. I definitely believe that you're right, Mel, that at some point you have to assess really what you do have in terms of Jordan Love, whether you're going to keep the guy around or not, and it's waffling. So, Candy, why don't you give me a prediction about the Packers and the Cowboys, as painful as it may be. Can you hear us, Mel? You're on mute now.
You're muted now, Mel. You're muted, Mel.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. Now we got a Verizon commercial. How many times are we going to get copyrighted, Candy, on the show? Hopefully not. All right, but, let's go to predictions over the weekend. We don't do a lot of predictions, but let's have some fun with this one here, Candy. Predictions between the Cowboys and the Packers.
It's an emotional homecoming from Mike, not Holmgren, but Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, you'd like that to me, wouldn't you?
He teared up earlier in the week. The Packers are having an awful season. It's really hard for me to say that they're going to win this game, but for some strange, unknown reason, they're back at home. They have nothing. They have nothing to, I mean, they have everything to gain by winning the game. Like, everybody's counting them out. Nobody thinks they can do it. Some strange reason, I think they ink out a narrow margin of victory. But
Right.
I also don't think it's going to be a cold game. The Cowboys aren't used to playing in the cold anymore. I think I looked, the high is supposed to be 37 degrees. The low is supposed to be in the 20s. Some reason, I think the Packers are going to pull off a close, low-scoring game. I don't think it'll be a high-scoring game.
So give me a score. You're dodging. You're waffling like your quarterbacks. Come on, Candy, get with the program. Give me a score.
Let's go 17-14 Packers.
All right, Mel, just give me a prediction on this. I got two more subjects to get to.
Cowboys are going to win.
Okay.
Cowboys are going to win. I mean, they're going to get, they're going to get after the quarterback. I don't care. It ain't going to be that cold. They'll be all right. I say they should win big. Probably going to at least score 27. I give them 27-10.
Fair enough. Okay, what about you, Willie?
Yeah, my heart says Packers, but my mind knows better. I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to win. They're going to win big. It's going to be 31-10.
Yeah, initially, if I led with my heart, I would say the Packers will win 21-17. But
it's also Lions. Jeez, Pete.
Well, because of the cold weather, that's perception and reality. If I led with my heart, it's 21-17. Green Bay will win. But the reality is, I think the Cowboys are gonna hammer them 35-17. That's what I think. What the
they couldn't score against the Lions. What makes you think they didn't score against the Packers? Right?
I don't know. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's a good point.
The Lions defense is like a revolving door. I mean, you get what you want.
Yeah. No. Hey, listen. Things are bad when Aiden Hutchinson gets an interception. Oh, he's a good player. All right. Let's talk about the international game. And this one's an interesting. At least this time we can see it. When we had it on here before, ESPN Plus had the Jacksonville Jaguars and Denver Broncos, and nobody saw it. This time, though, it's on the NFL Network at 9:30. You have the Seattle Seahawks, Tampa Bay Bucks. And here's an interesting sidebar about these two. These two are expansion brothers. The Seahawks came into the league in 1976 when Jack Petecarroll was a head coach, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came in 1976 when John McKay was a head coach. And, of course, now you have the battle between Genosmith and Tom Brady. So with that said, Willie, why don't you give me your thoughts about this international game?
Tom Brady is looking to win a game in Europe. And I tell you what, this is an unfair advantage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because flying from Seattle to Munich is like a 17-hour flight, I want to say. Why in the world would they put a West Coast team in this slot? I don't understand it. With that being said, last week against the Rams, we saw glimpses of the Tom Brady of old, but he is old. He is very old, and I think this win would mean more for the Seahawks because so many people are questioning on whether or not they're real. So I'm gonna say that Pete Carroll is going to get Tom Brady back after Russell Wilson threw that pick in that Super Bowl, and they're going to get this victory despite the cross-the-world flight, and they're going to beat them 24-16.
Willie, there's a reason why we're good friends, man, and brother, because you know what? GMTA, great minds think alike. I'll get to my prediction, but you know what? You're right. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith going after Tom Brady. To me, is definitely a storyline that most people will probably have before it's all said and done. All right, Mel, give me your take about the Seattle-Tampa Bay matchup out in Munich, Germany.
Yeah, like Willie said, it is kind of unfair. I mean, and I know how that travel is played out in Berlin before, and I think we had to stop in Greenland or something like that to refuel or something like that. It's a long trip. And I don't know why they do this. I don't know why they would pick Seattle to do that because that's a long, long trip. But as much as, I'm rooting for Tom Brady, for the senior citizens, for us senior citizens, they just have not shown me a lot. They can't run the football. Tom Brady, obviously he's had a lot on his mind, but they can't stop the run. And that's something that Seattle does very well. Defense has not played very well. Normally, they would give you in between the 20s and then they tighten up a little bit, but they aren't even doing that anymore. Tampa Bay is not. So, I see Seattle winning this game as well. I think they're going to get after Tom, as a lot of teams have been, and harass him a little bit. And I think they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to control the game, control the flow of the game. And I think they'll win this game probably. And it'll be a close game, 24-17, something like that, 24-20. It'll be a close game because, that is Tom Brady after all. And he's trying to win. He put a lot on the line. He gave up a lot to continue to play football.
Okay, Candy.
This game intrigues me to a certain extent because obviously it's the first time playing in Munich. The venue holds up to 70,000 fans. So my question to you is, Seattle is known as the stadium that has the 12th man and is real big with their fans being a part of the game. I think it'll be very interesting to see how many fans over there are on the Seattle side or how many are on the Tampa Bay side. As you just alluded to, the team has to travel farther. So would the fans have to travel farther. So will there be more if people are traveling there to the game? How many would be Seattle? How many would be Tampa Bay? I think this will be a close game. I think the intrigue of playing internationally in Germany will help bolster, I think, both sides to play a better, especially since it's the first time playing in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I think 24-21, Seattle.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll make it a 7-point differential. Yeah, Seattle definitely. The one thing about Seattle, though, I will say, is even though this is a 17-hour drive, I'll take it. Drive. No, I only wish it was a 17-hour drive, right?
Right.
Flight, okay. 17-hour flight. Seattle's used to traveling distances anyways. This one just has to be extraordinary, knowing it's across the pond. But, yeah, I'm going to give Seattle the edge 25-18 in this game. I really do. I mean, and, how do you not root it for Pete Carroll at this stage, right? How can you? I mean, right now, this guy, I hate to say this, but he's on house money. Mm-hmm. Nobody expected him to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think nobody expected him, but I think he did.
Well, all right, but that's fine. So you know what? All the more reason, Mel. You just backed up my point even further. He did, but nobody else. He's made us all look bad. And, of course, that running back, Kenneth Walker, third, doesn't hurt either. But it's all on Pete Carroll and Geno Smith. In fact, I'll even go out on a limb saying that I think that Geno Smith is a shot to win comeback player of the year when it's all said and done at the end of the year. So if I were bet money on anything, I would say that Geno Smith is the comeback player of the year in the NFC. But 25-18 does it for me with Seattle. All right, we're going to go to college football. And you know what? No, we're going to make you feel at home with this one. Two teams in Southern California are prepping to go to the Big Ten. Ever heard of USC 8-1? They're taking on Colorado 1-8. USC goes into this game at number 8 in the country. And by the way, Mr. UCLA Bruin, number 12. The UCLA Bruins are ranked number 12 against Arizona. UCLA is 8-1 and Arizona 3-6. So I guess my question to you, we'll start with you on this, Mel. How important is it for these two Southern California teams to become this good as they get ready to embark on their Big Ten move?
I mean, I think it's huge. UCLA had not been playing well as of late, and USC hadn't been playing as well either. That's why they went out and spent all the money and to get the guy from Oklahoma over there as
Riley.
Yep. And I'm real surprised and real pleasantly surprised that the things that Chip was doing up there at Oregon is starting to show up down at UCLA, and UCLA is playing real good football right now. Obviously, they've had a quarterback that's been there for a long time that's playing real well in that system. They got a great running game to get after it on the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I think it's huge because, I was thinking based on, before the season that UCLA was going to be like Northwestern in the Big Ten. It's going to be the laughing stock over there. It's going to go, Northwestern, they're tough out now. They play pretty good, but at the same time, I mean, they might have a chance to win a Big Ten championship once every blue moon, realistically, because there's a lot of good football teams over there in the Big Ten. So I think it's huge. I think it's huge for both of those programs, and I think the Big Ten is happy about it as well, because those programs are going to be joining that conference, and all that does is strengthen that conference. On the football side, we know, on the basketball side, what UCLA brings. So I think it's huge that they're playing well. I hate that they're leaving the Pac-12. I really do. I can't even wrap my brain around them being in the Big Ten, but obviously it's huge for them to be playing as well as they're playing right now, both of those schools.
Yeah, well, I got number 2 market in the country, just making the Big Ten TV market look better with all that money coming in. Willie, what are your thoughts about LA football? I don't think LA football's ever been this good in quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a while. And when you talk about SC and UCLA, what is it, the battle for the victory bell or something like that, Mel? Is that the name of the rivalry?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know what it is. All I know is city bragging rights, as I understand it. Continue on.
Yeah. The thing for me about SC and UCLA going to the Big Ten would be named the Big Ten, but it would have 16 teams, I guess.
Right.
That travel, and I'm pretty sure they've already worked it out in terms of how they're going to do it, but that traveling, going back and forth from the East Coast to the West Coast, that's going to be a bear. That is going to be a bear. It's already difficult when you go from east when you go from west to east and you're changing time zones. And instead of you playing a game at 3:00, it's actually feeling like it's at 12. And that's going to be tough.
Not just football, really for the Olympic sports is where I look at. Football is going to be tough too. No question about it. Mm-hmm. What about basketball and the other Olympic sports? I mean, UCLA and USC, they're going to field a hockey team now? I mean, I don't. Those are the things I don't understand. How they're going to migrate the entire athletic department into the Big Ten. We don't play hockey in Southern California, or they don't play hockey in Southern California that I know of.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I don't know the logistics in terms of what programs are going to be migrating with them from the Pac-12 over to the Big Ten. But what I will say is this, is that we all know that the NCAA buttholes are all about the money. Right. I don't know what the Big 12, or I'm sorry, the Big Ten new TV money is going to be, but I do know that it's something astronomical. I think it's in terms of basketball with UCLA, it's going to bring a different type of vibe to the Pac or to the Big Ten conference. I mean, the Big Ten conference in basketball, they're more they play a little bit more physical up there. I think in terms of football, where are they going to truly fit? And USC got Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma. Right. Because I personally believe that Lincoln Riley did not want to face the SEC, but that's another question for another day.
Right.
But he's going to the Pac. He's going to the Big Ten, and you have Michigan there, you have Ohio State there, and then really after that, there's really not much. Penn State's down a little bit.
Michigan State, they're going to hit you in the mouth. Wisconsin, they're going to come back. They're not going to, Illinois is playing well right now. Purdue, they can be good at any time. Iowa's going to be tough. We know Rutgers is going to come around again with Shiano over there. Maryland.
And at some point, I think Nebraska is going to figure it out too with a good coach. There's a lot of good coaching candidates out there. I think the Cornhuskers will be relevant. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm looking forward to seeing, though, too, guys, is that USC and UCLA, they may play in cold weather once every other year.
Right.
When you go to the Big Ten, y'all already know what it is.
Right.
So let's see what happens.
And I said, I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day. We were having this conversation. I said, when I went to UCLA, I went there because I did not want to play in the cold. I grew up in the cold. I played in the cold. It's not just playing in the cold. It's the practicing that you have to do in the cold. I did all that. I didn't want to play in the cold, and I didn't want to play on artificial surface. That's why I didn't go to any Big Ten schools, because a lot of the Big Ten schools are playing on artificial surface, and it's cold. And I didn't want to play in the cold. I can't recall a cold. It might have been cold and rainy, like in Pullman, Washington, or something like that, or maybe Oregon. We went to Colorado one year. There was, you know, snowing in September, but it wasn't like freezing cold or anything like that. I can't recall playing in a cold game when I was in college. Can't recall. And that's why I went to UCLA, because I did not want to play in the cold. Now you're going to have to play 5-6 games. I mean, well, you're going to play 2 or 3 games for certain that it's going to be.
Well, you may play more than that, Mel. I don't know.
You might get some games earlier in the year where it might not be so cold.
That's true. But for the most part, there are no dome stadiums in college football that I'm aware of outside of Syracuse.
Well, Syracuse plays at the dome stadium.
Right, that's the only one. Well, let me add to Willie for just a moment, okay? And you bring up a really interesting point. At some point or another, I don't know when, but, okay, Kevin Warren will bring in Phil Knight's money from Oregon. You know that. Seattle, big TV market. And if the California governor has anything to say about it, he wants to make sure Stanford and California get in there as well. So that kind of eases up that geographic imbalance that we're talking about. That's one of those things. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but they need to sort it out, get these teams in and see where the super conferences go. And then you add a little bit more to the equation. That's what I think will happen down the road. And Willie, so that's where I think you're really in the area with me, that you have those two for starters, but it certainly could end as well as 4. In fact, you know, I'll even take it a step further, okay, depending on where the super conference goes. I live in the state of Florida, right? I wouldn't be surprised at some point if Florida State or Miami ultimately join the Big Ten, if for no other reason, so that because they've always recruited heavily down here as well. Am I throwing stuff out there you haven't heard before? I don't know. Follow us. Continue to monitor this thing as we go along. But there'll be some warm weather things down here in the southeast, as well as potentially to me on the West Coast. So with that said, Candy, if you want to comment on this, fine. If you don't, we could go to parting shots if you're not comfortable with it. I know you don't follow the LA. You've never been to California outside of an airport stop to LAX to go to Hawaii.
So I did a little research. LA schools currently do not travel more than about 1,000 miles and one time zone to play conference games. But by joining the Big Ten, the schools will face opponents mainly in the Midwest, obviously some on the East Coast. The closest school is Nebraska, which is 1,500 miles away and 2 time zones. A trip to Rutgers is 3 time zones, 2,700 miles, or just a few hundred miles less than if Rutgers played a conference game in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, those are pretty wild numbers. You know what, Katie? It's good sometimes you go last because we know where our crack statistician is. Good stuff. All right. Well, you know what? I'm not going to take it any further than that. That was good stuff, right, guys? I think it was. All right. So with that said, we're going to go to parting shots. Willie, this is something you're probably not familiar with, but you're going to get familiar as you continue to come on these platforms. We get to talk about anything you want for about a minute or two. We don't even interrupt you. Go for it. You lead off.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, look, I told you we're making some wrinkles here to make it better so we can bring you on here. Mel and Candy are used to it, but this is something where you get it off your chest for a minute or two, and then everybody does it, and then Candy will wrap it up with all the company info one more time. Go on, Willie.
Anything I want, huh?
Well, don't bring up politics and religion. I'm not looking.
No.
Okay, almost.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Houston Astros.
Okay.
And the fact that they just won another World Series. Dusty Baker is now, in my opinion, etched forever in the annals of Major League Baseball and baseball as a whole. He had already won a championship as a player. He was a more than good player when he was with the Dodgers. He actually was drafted by he started out with the Braves in the majors before going over to the Dodgers. He had a couple of great seasons. He actually finished in the MVP conversation a couple of different times, and his managerial prowess was really, really, really stellar. You think about the stops that he made in Chicago, Cincinnati, San Francisco, and Washington. He won more than 90 games multiple times with all 4 of those franchises. Those teams were never able to get over the hump for whatever reason. They were a favorite in a lot of those playoff series, and they were never able to get over the hump. So it just goes to show you how the timing of things is just perfect whenever the strings are being pulled by the higher power. And in my case, Jesus Christ, whenever the puppet strings are being pulled by him, there's no bad timing in any of it, simply because the Houston Astros, as we know, had gone through the scandal with #Signgate. They bring in Dusty Baker, who is a calming uncle, grandfather, father-like figure, and he gets this team back to some sort of credibility in terms of how their character was. Now, when they lost to the Nationals in the World Series 2 years ago, a record was set. That series, no home team won a game. That had never happened before. So they were reeling from that. Last year they get beat by the Braves, and then this year they come back against a very, very hot Phillies team from a lineup standpoint. And even though they won 4-2, the series to me was never in doubt. So I'm going to continue to pay homage to that man, my uncle, who I've never met. I just want to meet him one time and shake his hand. I respect that man so much. Dusty Baker, congratulations. And he is on record, guys, in coming back and saying that he's coming back in 2023 for another year. 70-something years old, 74 years old, I believe he is. And it is tremendous that he is still having the energy to do what he's doing. He's molding these young players. He's molding these young men. And I, for one, have so much respect for that dude. I hate the Astros because they play in the same division as my A's, but I love that dude from here all the way to California. Congratulations, Astros. Congratulations, Dusty Baker.
Well said, Willie. Okay, Mel, you're next.
Yeah, I was happy to see Dusty win as well. I've been rooting for him for a long time and he finally got one. Finally got that monkey off his back. Mine has to do with the recent hiring of Jeff Saturday by the Indianapolis Colts. And, you know, one of the things that has always held African-American coaches from getting opportunities was experience. You don't have experience, get experience. You know, they might have position coaching experience, but they don't have, then they'll say, well, you need coordinator experience. So we got all these coordinators out there who are not getting opportunities. And a guy literally leaves the television booth, not even the television booth. I mean, he leaves TV and becomes the interim head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. And, you know, you kind of circumvent the spirit of the Rooney Rule because the Rooney Rule doesn't talk about quote unquote interim coaches. But, you know, there's head coaches on that. There's coaches with head coaching experience that are currently on that coaching staff. And then there's other guys who also played for the Indianapolis Colts who are coaching right now. You know, Cato June, Reggie Wayne, they got guys there. You got John Fox there, who's a senior analyst. You got Gus Bradley there, who's coached in the NFL, but yet you decide you want to bring a guy out with zero college and pro coaching experience. I know he coached a high school for 3 years out here in Georgia, but to give him the keys to the car, and I don't understand that for the life of me. So it just goes to show again the double standards, the good old boy mentality that we've talked about before. You know, I'm sure him and Jim Irsay, they had a lot of conversations. They like one another. They have a lot of similar, a lot of things in common that they similar interests, and you know, they can, you know, they're brought together by those things. Whereas, you know, I'm waiting. You know, I'm actually waiting for my time for somebody to give me a call and see if I can't get a job in the NFL. I'm just waiting for my phone to ring. Probably won't ring, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting on it. You know, I can leave here. Leave you guys. You guys wouldn't mind if I got a job somewhere. Maybe the Lions will call. Who knows?
Well, you know what? If you do, you better give me the first interview.
And I better get the second one.
You're right, exactly. All right, Candy, give us your parting shot.
My parting shot goes to college football. The Wisconsin Badgers put a label on Jim Leonhard as interim head coach. Because of this, because they fired Paul Chryst, they are now losing commitments from players that were going to commit to Wisconsin. My issue is, Wisconsin, you need to take that interim tag off in Jim Leonhard. He's proven he's 3-1. He's done it. He He's good for the program, but if you don't do it quick enough, Wisconsin doesn't get the big recruits. We're not in Alabama. We're not in Ohio State. We're Michigan. So to get some of these, you need to commit early to a head coach. And let's face it, that's what when you're in college, that's what you're committing to. Not as much the school as the head coach. So if you don't put a head coach and take the interim off it, you're going to find fewer people committing to Wisconsin. So I want them to remove that interim title off his title.
All right. I'm wearing a University of South Florida hat. I'm a proud alma mater, a Bull. Okay. And they made a coaching decision to let Jeff Scott go this week. Understand, 4 wins, 24 losses. They just built a $22 million indoor facility and I hope at some point down the road they get an on-campus stadium. I really do. They're in the Atlanta, the AAC, American Athletic Conference. They could have been at Big 12, and the facilities have been more on campus, and the program had been further along. Here's the deal. It bothered me when they fired Jim Leavitt, built the program from scratch. I understand why he left in a cloud of controversy. There was a little bit of activity going on. I don't know whether he got physical with a player or verbal abusive or whatever the case. He's never seen another head coaching job. They brought a lot of different coaches in throughout the years. Jeff Scott, from what I understand, was a nice guy. He really was. But he didn't win. Here's the deal. We're going through a coaching search. Quit bringing on some of these assistants and get it right with a proven coach. I know Willie Taggart did a decent job. Charlie Strong, I think Charlie Strong was okay, but, you know.
You got to come against Scott Frost.
Yeah, well, maybe. But the guy I'd like to see them hire is Tom Herman, formerly of Ohio State, formerly of, I think he was with Houston, right? And then with Texas. He's the guy I'd like to see. You know, you let this guy
he was a lot higher when Texas hired him. He was a big time hire.
Right, he was. And not only that, and I've heard John Gruden, please don't hire him, although I know there's talk about his name being bannered. But we need to get this hire right. I think Tom Herman's the right guy. I've seen a lot of older coaches go from top jobs to, you know, mid jobs, like Frank Solich didn't do so bad at Ohio University, right? He did pretty well. Clay Helton will do pretty good things, I believe. I think he's with
Georgia Southern.
So there's no crime in going from a top tier job to a job like this, as long as you're appreciated. But all I can say about my alma mater, we need to get this hire right. There's no reason why USF cannot be a top tier program. You play in a metropolitan area like Tampa. You're one of the largest schools in the state of Florida. And to me, it's just disappointing. Now, I can tell you, Florida Atlantic University is going to be joining them in the AAC, so there will be a new rivalry formed with FAU and USF, and I don't think USF will have the war on I-4 anymore as UCF. But regardless of who their new rivals are, has nothing to do with it. Michael Kelly, obviously he's the main man. Let's get this hire right. I'm sick and tired of watching a school that has a lot of resources on campus and money underachieve on the field.
You just got to go up there with your duffel bag, and you can influence who they hire.
Yeah, I'd like to. Being an alumni, I probably should. But I do publicize their stuff for a lot of people that want to read it. So they're one of my media distribution partners. All I can say is let's get this hire right. I'm a proud Bull. I always will be a proud Bull. Anytime I can go to school where my nickname is still, aside from Scooter, Bull, it isn't the worst thing in the world for those people, unless you really deal with me in public and you really don't like it anyway. So, with that said, come on, guys, let's get it right in Tampa. All right, Candy, go ahead. And everybody, well, first of all, Willie, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of your audio?
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. And thank you guys for having me on once again. On Twitter at Shakeback Media Group, at Twitter, or on Instagram at Shakeback Media Group, YouTube, the Shakeback Media Group LLC, and on Facebook, the same thing. So give us a follow, give us a like, give us a sub. We just surpassed 300 subscribers on YouTube the other day. So we are trying to make sure we build up that. And same thing for you, Scooter. Anything I can do to help you, man, you know I'm down for that.
Well, you already proven that. You're a big help to us on Twitter, the way you go out there and share our content. So kudos to you, Willie. You're a team player in every sense of the word. That's why I love having you on the show every time I get the chance. And Mel, now you got to see somebody who's as classy as Willie. I work with Willie all the time. This guy works tirelessly on social media as well as gets his name on a lot of different platforms. I'm not going to mention them, but we're particularly proud that he's a part of us. And yes, he's a tremendous help on social media. All right, Mel, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you or what they represent?
Get a hold of me at all the social media at Melfar Jr. I think you can still get a hold of me at Twitter unless Elon Musk has changed something, but it should be at Melfar Jr. all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And you can follow what we have going on here in Georgia and also up in Michigan for the youth at melfar.org.
And Willie, in case you didn't know, Melfar Jr. is the son of former Detroit Lion player Melfar Sr., who had a pretty good career on the field as well as a successful entrepreneurial career as well. So if you Google up Melfar Sr., you'll know his son does. And I have been great friends for the longest time, and I'm so proud to have Melfar as my major football analyst. He's been nothing short of outstanding, and we've worked together a long time, Mel. Your friendship, brotherhood, and everything about you is tremendously appreciated, and you know that. I've told you 9 million times over, and I'll tell you 9 million times later until I stop talking, which will never happen anyway. So, but meanwhile, I'll let Candy Evelyn close out the show.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you like this program, subscribe to the South Florida YouTube channel. We'd love to have you on there. We're over 600. We're trying to get up to 700, one subscriber at a time. You can always look at our website for any content, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you have ideas that you'd like us to cover, please email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you'd like to advertise, 954-304-4941. And if you just want to listen to us, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google. We enjoyed having everybody tonight. Am I really closing out the show, Scott?
Why not? You sound a whole lot better than I do.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Willie. Thanks, Melfar Jr. Until we meet the next time, have a great football week.
Yeah, from inside the pigskin. Good night, everybody. Yep.